looking like one of the goats. Still got that thing in my coat, I kick in the dope, letting them know that I'm dope. Dope like the coat that they sniff in the back of the court, leaving my foot on their throat. Musta took me for a joke, so please don't approach, cause nigga, you just like a roach. Play with me, I get you stepped on. Knowing I'm head of the family, moving with Grammys, you can just call me the Don. I'm way too mature to be holding a gun by my waist, I keep mine by my arm. I'm a dog off the leash till I snatch up the beast and I put them right back on my charm. Had a couple of problems with some of my partners who wanted to ring the alarm. So I kept it G with them niggas, but some of them niggas, they didn't even stick to the code. I know that they are irrelevant, nothing they telling me ever convinced me to fold. My grandmother's prayers and her promises, only thing I know that's saving my soul. So don't involve me with no drama, cause even my mama know me, I ain't letting it go. So I had to stop kicking it.
I jumped off of the car, and I was doing this dance, and danced it like this. And damn if somebody didn't call me out on that. Do you know what that means? I said, no, I'm just doing moves that I saw. You know, I'm not all into that shit. You know what that means? No, I don't. It means I'm trying to sell cars. Yeah, that's what it means. No, really. You know, I don't delve deep into what people mean in their songs. I don't care. If it's got a good groove and it makes people happy and it makes the commercial memorable, I'm not diving deep to find out what something means. I don't care.
That memorable is the word. That's it.
Yeah. But I realize now, I've gotten into spirituality and stuff, and into self-help and all that stuff. I study psychology. I'm into being a life coach, and I understand now what people are doing when they do things like that. It's one of the 6 human needs, significance, and some people just have no significance in their life, and they're just looking to be heard. So they find something out there that they can be heard on and try to make a wave about something, but they're just looking for significance. And if you look at it that way, you know what, I'm not going to get mad at that. I feel this person's pain. So let's try to say something nice to them to make them have a nice day and let them know that they didn't shake my world.
Oh, man.
But back in the day, I said, well, you know, but I'm not into that anymore. You'd play hell, you'd have to smack my mom to get me heated. That's about it. That's about it.
That's all right. That speaks louder, man.
That's the moral of the episode right there. We didn't already got to it.
I didn't know if cameras were rolling or not.
That's perfect. I actually am rolling on camera, just not sound, but we will be. Can you believe that microphone's not in y'all shot right now?
Really?
Nah, I cannot believe
This shit is nuts.
I really thought we was about to have a whole just straight microphone.
Yo, you really want to do this so bad?
Yeah, I do.
It's really you can't see it in either one of the cameras. I'm mind blown. I'm sorry. All right, so guys, we have as you know, a 30-minute record limit on each camera. Rolling, go ahead and roll. It's already rolling. Perfect.
Wow.
Gonna be interesting. You at least gonna, no matter what it does, at least learn something.
That's true. I've definitely learned a lot so far just in this podcast making process.
Yeah. Don't ever look at things as failures if it don't work. Just say, hey, you know what? It's the next stepping stone.
And I never knew what people would pay attention to until I started doing it.
All right, folks.
The weirdest things.
You're rolling, buddy.
All right. So I want y'all to know y'all missed a very interesting preamble ramble. I'm sorry y'all had to miss it. Yeah. We're gonna start queuing up a little differently from time to time. We'll figure it out. But my name is Herbsurdity Podcast El Segundo. They call me Herb. And with me to my left is my co-host.
Just Alex, what's up, y'all?
And this is the Herbsurdity Podcast with Alex and Herb. Today we have a special guest, very special guest.
Local legend.
If you're from Virginia at all, you're going to know Wayne from Auto Connection.
Yes.
All right. And if you think you don't know, call Mack. If your credit is whack.
I think that's all we can do. That's all we can do.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the legalities on it, but one of the hyper Super Bowl commercials, regionally recognized in my lifetime. But we'll get started. I want to get started back early, all the way back to like the early 2000s. Hector the Connector.
Wow, you know about Hector?
You really did your research.
Well, you just hit on something. You know, you talked about that Super Bowl, and I hate to cut off the beginning, but that was very interesting. Do you know that Super Bowl commercial you're talking about? Are you talking about the running of the Bulldogs?
Yeah.
Do you know that Geico copied that commercial, over 95% of it, and it was running nationwide, and they even ran it in this area here. And I mean, they almost copied it to a T. They didn't spoof it.
Yeah.
They copied it to a T. Wow. I couldn't believe it. The only thing they didn't have in there was me. I'm telling you. And there were so many people in my organization that were hot over it, and they're like, especially in the advertising department. And they're like, what are we going to do? We're going to sue them? I'm like, no, because if you sue them, what's going to happen is they're going to get a letter from our attorney. It's just going to say cease and desist, and they're just going to stop running it in this market.
Right.
That's all they're going to do. You're not going to do anything. You ain't going to get no money out of it, but I don't want to sue them anyway. But here, I have a way better idea. Why people in this area, I've already started getting phone calls on it. What's going on? Did you see this? What happened? Geico copied you. And I particularly wrote this commercial myself. And I said, you know what we're going to do? And it had been like 4 or 5 years since we had ran that commercial. And I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start running the commercial again. And we're going to show everybody that they copied us, because we did it in 13. They're doing it in 18. Yeah. That's what it was in 18. I said, and we're going to play off of their advertising. And everybody, when they see this commercial, they're going to think Auto Connection. And when they think Auto Connection, maybe they come buy a car.
Yeah.
And if they tell us to cease and desist, guess what? We created the commercial. So it's win-win all over the place. I'm not mad at anybody. I'm going to piggyback off of Geico, who's piggybacking off of me. And I'm like, this is win-win. Don't be mad about this. So anyway, I had to take that lead right there, because I would have forgotten that.
Oh, no, free marketing, baby. I love it. I love it. Like, it definitely transitioned. I was going to ask you about a collaboration with an insurance company anyway, and I'm glad we got an answer early. Yeah, but Hector the Connector, I got
Hector Connector. Now, I'm going to have to ask you a question. How do you know about Hector? Hector didn't last very long. Do I have stuff on a website showing about Hector? No way you remember that. I mean, because that's a long time ago. Okay, but I have some funny stories, but let me hear how you know about Hector.
Now, there were a couple news articles about you specifically.
Okay.
Right. If you go through Google and you dig deep enough, there are early articles from, I wouldn't say early, actually, from like mid 2000s.
That's pretty early.
Yeah,
well, I opened Auto Connection in May of 2000, so mid 2000s. That's kind of early.
And that's they're talking about the first start of your commercials, had the connector.
That's right.
And when you transition to start featuring Mack. And so this predates Mack.
Right.
But I wanted to know about that early start and where your headspace was about where you thought your advertising was going to go.
Well, I didn't know. We first started on, I told you earlier about the little building where we were just a little small building. And the space wasn't, for a car lot, wasn't much bigger than the front up there. It was just a little small car lot. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to start selling more cars. We're like, well, you know what? We got to get on radio. No way we can afford TV, so let's get on radio. So we wrote this commercial. I can't remember how it goes, but it's something about riding in a hoopty, blah 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 blah. You know, it's really cute how it went.
Behave.
Yeah. And we put it on Wowie. Do you remember that radio station, Wowie?
Yeah.
Anyway, man, and we put that commercial on there, and it just took off, and all of a sudden our sales went from like I want to say maybe 20 a month to the first month we started going on radio, we went from 20 to 60 a month. Wow. And I'm like, the first month, and I'm like, holy crap, there's something to this. So we go a little long, maybe 6 months down the road, and we're like, you know what? We got a little cash behind me. Let's do some TV. Let's just have some fun. And the first commercial we do was about Saturday Night Fever, and it was the goofiest commercial there. They got a guy pretending to be John Travolta, and he's walking. They're playing Night Fever. Yeah, Night Fever, and the guy's walking down, and it's funny. The camera, you know, he's walking real cool, and they're playing the music, and he's got a lady, you know, and everybody's looking at him, right? And all of a sudden, it's like one of those record stops, you know how it goes, and then all of a sudden, the camera goes down to the man's feet, and he's got these big toes hanging out, and he's like, his toes are sticking out of his shoes, and somebody hits him up, man, what's going on with your digs there? And they said something of the nature of, you need to go see, you know, not Matt, you need to go to the Auto Connection and get a car. because the man's walking everywhere. It was one of those kind of things, and it was just real stupid. But man, I got all kinds of press over that, and it was funny, it was cute, but I don't know, it was kind of, I was telling you earlier about we were doing home commercials, kind of, you know. So it was rough, but it was cute.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of press off of that. Well, anyway, couldn't have been maybe a few months after that. I got a girlfriend who was into advertising, and she was going to Old Dominion at the time. And so she started helping me shoot the commercials after this. And she said, I know how to do all this. I know how to use a camera and all this stuff. So it was just me and her writing the commercials at that point. And Hector Connector, I came up with him, and I think it had something to do with Big Al's muffler. I saw his gangster look on there, and I said the auto connection, and I'm like, you know what? We're gonna run a campaign that says we're gonna connect you with financing. So Hector Connector he was like the mafia guy who was you were gonna be connected if you were connected to Hector Connector. He was gonna connect you with financing. So that was the thought on that. So we're trying to figure out a gangster type of looking thing. And the girl I was with, she said, well, we gotta find this gangster looking mask of some sort. So she goes online, and you know what she does? She finds a mask of Saddam Hussein, a Halloween mask of Saddam Hussein. and she puts a wig on it, and like, well, shoot, that don't really look like Saddam Hussein anymore. It looks like a just a gangster kind of Italian mafia dude. And so I would wear the mask and walk around, and I had this big striped suit on, you know, looking like a gangster. So nobody knew I had a Saddam Hussein mask on. I probably would have got bad press, especially back then at that time.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So, but that wasn't the point. You know, we weren't trying to make any point, trying to be funny. We were just trying to find something that worked. Right. And anyway, that's how Hector came. But anyway, she came, and when she first came along, she had just bred like 8 bulldogs, and she brought all 8 bulldogs to my house, and we started living together at the beach. And so I've got all these in my laundry room, these 8 puppies, and man, it just stunk the whole house up, right? But they were so cute, little cute bulldog puppies. And a little time goes on, and we sell the puppies, and I decided, you know what, let's just keep one. And this one, he was the second biggest one out of them, and he would, as a puppy, and he would always, you know, get up on me, and he'd sleep on my chest, you know, he's real cute, and that was Mack. And so anyway, time goes on, and she's trying to sell me on the fact that Mack is probably 8 months old at this time, and she says, you know, people love children and animals on TV. And I said, well, that's interesting. I said, you're probably right. So she wants Mack to be the star in the commercials. Let's put him in a commercial. And I kept saying no. And a few months go by, and she's like, come on, we got to do it. And I'm like, okay, I got an idea. Let's see what happens if Mack is Hector Connector's dog. Yeah. So he's going to be the tough-looking bulldog. You know, he actually was a huge bulldog, and he was very strong. He looked like Spike in the cartoon, the big chest, you know, and the way he walked was really cool. Everybody loved this dog, right, including me. I mean, I just love the dog. And so he's going to be Hector's sidekick. So we put him in a commercial, and he's a sidekick, and man, the phone rings off the hook, and everybody wants to know about Mack. So after that, about a month, 2 months goes by, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have to kick old Hector to the curb. It's all about Mack. So I hope that answered your question.
So how many commercials was Mack in total?
Oh, wow. I mean, I've done over 100 commercials, but I don't know how many he was actually in. I'm not sure. That was a lot. That's all I can tell you. I don't know.
I know Mack is like synonymous with the image of auto connection.
Of course,
the statue,
like the gecko is for Geico, right.
And then so I know we talked about this earlier before the audio was rolling. We brought it up. It's my favorite auto connection commercial. It's 2009, and Dollar Down Man. And if anybody remembers it,
I actually think it was the $300 Down Man.
You might
At that time, yes, it was called the $300 Down Man.
Yes, and
Dollar Down didn't come until later, but he was the $300 Down Man.
Yeah, yes, you're right. Dollar Down Man.
And he had a cape on. It was so silly.
Like 2 commercials later. Yeah. All right. But yes, at the very end of the commercial, after everything happens, you're dancing with an image of Mack, with like a painted on body.
It was a cartoon. I mean, it was animated. Yeah, she made an animated figure. It was kind of, it wasn't like real professional. It was real choppy like. Yeah, it's like South Park. Like the first South Park. You know, it was real choppy. Yeah.
Now, so dancing to Soulja Boy. And at the time, y'all remember 2009, Crank That Soulja Boy was the hottest song around.
That's right.
And it's something Alex and I noticed is literally before we had TikTok, before we had Vine, right? As far as memes went in our local area, it was commercials, and very, very early YouTube. And that's how we recognize you. Like, so we would see your commercials.
I was on YouTube a lot. I didn't even know what YouTube was, and everybody's like, "Did you see you on YouTube?" No.
It was the best. It was before we even knew how to communicate with one another. It was, hey, we've all seen these commercials. Yeah. That's what we talked about. That's what everyone was excited about as children. Like, we weren't even old enough. Some of us were old enough to have cars. I was in 2009. I was old enough too, but I still didn't have a car yet. Yeah. But every time I thought about it, I was like, man, my credit is kind of non-existent, and I was like, maybe auto connection might be the spot. So it did work. Like, it was successful. And I was thinking about how early you were to being a meme, like to being viral, and to setting and following trends. Like, and you predate the existence of what we do now.
But I had no idea I was doing that. And you know, another thing that I was excited about later on, it was like, you know, with Mack, I created advertising, or my group, we created advertising with using him for generations after generations, and we didn't even know it. You know, I was just trying to get, you know, who Mack could be in front of today. And I didn't realize that I was setting that up for a future, that little kids would be watching Mack on TV, and that when they got older, it would carry over. Hey, you remember the Bulldog Mack? Oh, let's go see them. I had no idea, so I can't take credit for that. It was just some things when you're in business and you just keep trying and trying things, sometimes the luck just comes right along with it, and that was one lucky factor that I did have. That was very lucky.
So, like, with the commercials, right? What is your process, though? How does it start with now? Like, who's the creative head for your commercials?
Well, the guy that controls purchases all my advertising and does the commercials, his name is Derek Bort. Actually has some Hollywood films. What's the name of it? Keeping Up with the Joneses was one of his movies. And the last one he did just came out a couple years ago, and Russell Crowe was in it, and I can't remember. He's had Demi Moore into his movie, so he's a pretty popular guy. But what we do now is he gets, I talk with him, and have another guy who's been with me for 30 years now. He's the guy right under me that, you know, basically runs the stores and the finance company. Well, anyway, we get on the phone and talk, and we're like, okay, we're going to meet in a month. Let's come with some ideas. So it's about 4 or 5 of us. We come with that. We think about things. We come to a table, and we sit around and just throw ideas around, a lot of silly stuff, and all of a sudden it'll land on something. And when it lands on something, we try to come up with about 10 commercials. And we have all these ideas, and we're like, okay, we take notes, then we go wait another month, and then we come back, and now we have much more structured ideas. And we have some people even come back with whole commercials written. So we try to come up with 10. Then we write the commercials, he goes and finds the actors for all of the thing, and figures out how we're gonna work me into it, what's it gonna be. And then we just, we shoot about wherever we're gonna shoot. A lot of them are done at the Auto Connection, but we do some off-site stuff too. Okay. Yeah. So we try to do all 10 commercials within a weekend, and when he edits them, There's probably going to be a couple that we just didn't like. It just didn't work out. Maybe we didn't have the right actors in there, or just the commercial didn't work.
Exactly.
And we end up with 8. So you end up with 8. That's commercials that's going to last you for about a year and a half or so.
Okay.
So yeah, you can just keep flowing them through the different stations, and that's just how we do it.
What's the most expensive commercial you've shot?
The what?
The most expensive commercial
Would be we were talking about the Super Bowl commercial. That was the running of the Bulldogs. We actually rented out a whole street. We had to call the city of Norfolk.
Okay.
And we had these big boom cranes that came out. They were, I don't know, a couple of them a couple of stories high. And that was, I think that commercial probably cost us $35,000. And that was back in 2012. Yeah, 2012.
Inflation, that's...
Yeah, it's rough. Yeah.
Well, so that's for a 30-second commercial, but you got to think about all the actors we had to have, and
care for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, a lot of editing. Yeah, oh yeah, I had shoot, I think I had 15 Bulldogs in that commercial. Yeah. So yeah, and that was an all-day affair. So I mean, they had to do the running of the Bulldogs. Shoot, they probably did that 15 times, so you can imagine how ornery the Bulldogs got after that, and some of the actors too. So that was a lot of footage, and then a lot of editing as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
So there's a collection of your videos on YouTube. It's literally just listed as Mack videos.
Okay.
Is that run by you guys, or is somebody else just collected all?
It's
your
all kinds of stuff out there. We haven't done any of that. No.
I think you I feel like you're missing out on the market for advertising just off of
doing that. Now,
a YouTube channel.
That could be a creative idea. That probably could work. There are several that people when they come around me, if somebody introduces me and say, hey, this guy's a Mack guy, and they don't know who I am, they just got in from town or something, and then they'll pull up something on YouTube. And they'll ask me what to pull up, and I have some favorite ones. One of them was called "Drop That Hoopty." Have you seen that? It's got my tour bus in it, and we rented out this bar, and I'm dancing with all these girls, and you've got me. I'm in this white fur coat, and I've got these shades on, and you got Little John singing in the background. And this was an expensive commercial too. Yeah, I can't even remember how much this one costs. But yeah, I have my tour bus there, and the tour bus is beautiful. It's one of these Rockstar tour bus. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's got I wrapped it in Mack stuff, and it was so cool. I bought it in 2010. I think I sold it in 2013. And anyway, that's in this commercial, and this was like a minute-long commercial. So I'll send them to that commercial. That's real fun. I had one with Ric Flair. Actually, I copied. Geico was doing these commercials with stars in them. And I was dressed like Ric Flair. That was a real fun. Another one I did was that I remember was not Star Search. What was Simon in?
American Idol.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, it was called the American Idol. And we had lookalikes on there. One looked like Simon. Who were the 3 main ones from the beginning?
Paula Abdul.
Paula Abdul, and the girl that did her was acting like, because sometimes Paula would look like she's kind of wasted on there, and the girl was acting drunk on there. And of course Simon was acting like an asshole. And who was the other one?
Randy.
Yeah,
Randy.
He was
Randy
kind of
Jackson.
he was kind of just laid back. And I dressed up like a woman. And I've got this mini skirt on and dressed up in makeup, and I'm singing a song on there. And boy, did I caught hell from all my friends dressing like a chick on TV. But boy, that really got a whole lot of attention too. But I'm pretty proud of that one because it's so funny.
Yeah.
If I go down memory lane, it's just so many of them that were funny to us because it's not some of those things. People see me as a more serious type of a person a lot if you don't really know me. So they when they first meet me, I'm more serious. And they're like, you're that guy that's on TV doing all that, because they expect me to be this I don't know, this flamboyant type of person.
Right.
And, you know, I'm kind of laid back when you first meet me.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I was like, we weren't expecting that. So,
But were you always interested in acting or comedy?
no. I'll tell you how I got into doing the commercials was there's a story here. This would have been probably my second commercial.
Okay.
The first one was the Saturday Night Live one. Saturday Night Fever.
Mm-hmm.
The second one was a more serious commercial. And what I did is I found this attractive woman who was a figure on TV. No, I'm sorry, on radio. I can't remember her name. But she was very attractive. And she had a nice radio voice, and she was a radio talent, and everybody knew her. And I'm like, we're going to do a TV commercial with her, and we're going to try to make her the Auto Connection spokesperson. So I get her, and I didn't realize she was attractive till I saw her, and I just knew she had a good radio voice. And when she showed up, I'm like, wow, she's attractive, she's got a nice voice. I'm going to make her be the spokesperson for the Auto Connection. That was my idea. And so we put her in. It's a more serious commercial. It wasn't funny. It was just really trying to sell cars. So some commercials, like when I run a bunch of commercials, I'll put one serious one mixed in with all the funny ones. So you'll see we do have a serious side as well. We're not just goofy, but you know. Yeah, but anyway, so what happened was it was such a good commercial. It was nice and clean, well shot, and not like the other commercials.
Right.
And what happened was, and she only wanted $250 per commercial. Gave her what she wanted, and after everybody saw it on there, do you remember the Hall Auto Group? They're called Mile One now. Well, at the time they had over 12. They were huge, and they're still there. New car franchise, and at the time they had like 12 car lots. They were one of the big boys in town. So they see her, and what do? They call her. They give her a contract, and she can't.
Man.
Yeah, she can't work with me anymore. So you know, I was pretty hot about that.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, okay, that's not gonna happen anymore. So what's gonna happen is I'm doing the commercials from now on. So I know this won't happen if I do the commercials. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have to tighten up and do them myself. So it wasn't, you know, and it was funny because when I said I was gonna do that to myself, I didn't realize that, wow, if you go on TV, people are gonna start recognizing who you are out here. And you know, I didn't even give that any thought.
Really?
No, I just didn't. You know, my mind wasn't there, and I didn't care about that. I just didn't care about that. You know, when your focus is somewhere, I know, right? Yeah, but my focus wasn't there. My focus was business. It really was, and I was trying to make it for myself.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you get focused, sometimes you lose sight of things like that, and it's like I wasn't doing this for, you know, to get known in town or, you know, anything like that. This was my focus.
No, you did it for the right
I mean, because if I'd have wanted that, I never would have hired her in the first place.
Right.
I never would have hired the people. I wasn't in the commercial with the Saturday Night Fever thing. So anyway, that's what put me in the commercials.
Yeah.
And I was actually a little nervous about doing it. It's like, well, I've never acted. Well, I'd been in school plays, you know, stuff like that. But I was like, okay, how's this gonna go out? We got to write commercials specifically for me to be in. And my girlfriend, she said, well, yeah. She said, you know what we need to do? We need to make you dance on there because that's what's going to gather people's attention. I'm like, really? It's like, I don't want to get on TV and dance, and I didn't want to do it.
Right.
But I did, and I didn't even practice. And you know what? I'm not going to practice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get on here, and I'm just going to act a fool. And I get this saying in my head, don't be cool, act a fool. When I got out of college, I started selling vacuum cleaners, and that's where I got all my sales training from. I actually sold vacuum cleaners door to door. So in order, I did that for 3 years. And my trainer, one of his things that he said is, don't be cool, act a fool. When you act a fool, it's the energy. The energy will transfer to other people. Don't get out there and be all serious. If you want to be this great, he was a great salesperson. Actually, he was from Richmond, and I always remembered that about him. Yeah, so don't be cool, act a fool. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to practice. I'm going to get in front of the camera, and I'm just going to do my thing. And my thing was kind of awkward But things can be awkward and be cool, and you can catch people's attention by being awkward.
It's authentic though.
Yes, exactly. So it was my thing. So then after that, we got other people. We got just customers that would come on and do dancing commercials with us, and they would do testimonials on there. And then right after they said how great they were, they'd get up there and do their dance. And we had people coming to us all the time. Can we be on a commercial? Can we be on a commercial? They didn't want to get paid. They just wanted to be on a commercial and dance for free. So that took off pretty good.
Yeah.
And, so things were just happening. It's just didn't know the rhyme or reason. It's just I would do something and it was just happening. I had a good energy going on with everything that was happening, and I believe that if you have a good energy, you attract good energy from other people. I believe there's a reason why good energy people just get attracted to others, and it just keeps snowballing.
Okay. That makes sense. You got time for your Herbsurdity questions?
Yeah, I do, because I'm halfway through the bottle, and I was about to say, that's the signal.
That's a signal?
So when you know I'm ready. So
2 questions usually.
It's two-parter. It's always a two-parter. Sometimes the second part comes, sometimes it don't come.
Should I be nervous?
No.
I mean, we'll find out. So the first thing, right, I got to know this. If you could sell any car, right, not own it, right, because a lot of different answers for what you own for yourself, but you could sell any car, real or not real. It could be a car from a fictional universe. Doesn't matter. Which one would you sell?
Oh, that's easy. I'd sell it. Most car guys would tell you this. It's back in the day, in the 70s, most car guys would have told you Cadillac. And no, today it's a Lexus. But you ask me that, but it's always what you believe in. So that's what you're going to sell. That's what you're going to sell best. So if I believed in a Kia better than everything else, whether it was the best car or not, if I believed in it, then that would be the best car for me to sell. But I've had Lexus, and me personally, and there's no better ride out there than a Lexus, and how well they last. And some people would argue that. Some people would say Mercedes. What about a Mercedes? What about BMW? They ride different. A Lexus, when I say Lexus, I like the, now it's the 500. It was the LS, and but when I bought one when they first came out in 07. I bought the LS 460L, which was the longer version of it. And man, that car was so nice. I mean, every little thing, even when you shut the door, you could just feel how solid the car was made, and there were just no problems with any of these Lexus. We sell a lot of Lexus today, and we just don't have any problems with them. So I'm sold on Lexus. I know you saw what I drive is an Escalade. Yeah. Well, if Lexus would come out with a vehicle as big as the Escalade, I would take the Lexus. But I believe in Lexus, and that's a preference. It's just a preference. I like the way the Lexus rides. Like a BMW hugs the road. It's more of a performance car kind of thing. I just like the way the Lexus takes the road. But anyway.
Okay.
Now,
yeah.
This
oh boy.
Oh
boy.
Now,
here we go.
So you're gonna sell you a Lexus, right?
Okay.
And you can pick the person you sold it to. And you get to sell it yourself. This isn't you having it on your lot and you let another one of your salesmen take care of business. You personally get to sell a Lexus to one person. Who is that person?
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
Why?
Why Tony Robbins?
Why? Rihanna is my answer, but
Do you know? Oh, no, I can pull my own chicks. I don't need. I don't need something like that to go get.
Just hit me right in the chest with it. Dang, wow.
Well, you act surprised at my answer, so I better had given you a good reason, right?
You had to give me a step into the job.
I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it that way.
Jesus.
No, I didn't mean that you couldn't. I mean that. Look, I don't need any head starts on. I'm fine there in that department.
Fair enough, sir.
Yeah, most car dealers don't have problems in that. We're not afraid of rejection. We'll get out there and play the game, and we're just not afraid. It doesn't matter what I think I look like. Most salesmen have great confidence, and that's where the start is. The eye contact, the confidence, and you just play a numbers game. That's it. So I don't need that head start that you were talking about. But so I was going to pick somebody I can tell you what, Tony Robbins. Tony, I better have a good answer for that, right?
No.
I will. Okay. This, you got time for this one?
Yeah, I got time.
Okay. This goes back to about maybe 1987, and I'm around 26, 27 years old, and I'm living in an apartment behind my father's house. And I know I have all this potential to be this great salesperson, and I had just gotten through, at the time I had put together this lunch truck, and it's called Mr. Munchie. And it's called Mr. Munchie. You can just guess. I'm not going to tell you what I might have been selling on there with hot dogs too. But anyway, I'd go around to construction sites, and I was just not happy with my life where it was going. I was like, I had so much more potential than what I was doing. And I was going to a lot of bars and hanging out, and it's just getting a little older. Or I felt, 26, 27, not that old. But back then it felt like, boy, I better start doing something with my life. And instead of going out and getting wasted, 6 out of 7 days a week, and not that I get wasted every night, but I was drinking probably 6 days a week, right. And going to bars and hanging out, and I was kind of disgusted with myself. And so I get home late one night, and I see a video. 2:30 in the morning. I'm watching TV, and I see this, an infomercial is what it is, and it was Tony Robbins, and it talked about how to, get a hold of your life and really straighten you out. So I'm like, it was like $250, and at the time, I probably only had, maybe at the time, I might have had $2,000 to my name, and so to spend $250 on something like this, you would think, that's a lot of money. But I was so ready for a change. And so I'm like, okay, let's see what this guy's really all about. So I bought the tapes, and I started practicing some of the things that he said to do. And one of the key things was life is about pain. You do things for pain and pleasure, pain or pleasure, and it just has all these great teachings. And it talked about, at the time, I had a habit of chewing tobacco with those little Skull Bandit little things, little pouches, and it was funny. I'd only get in my car and do it. I wouldn't chew it anywhere else, but I'd get in my car, and I had this habit, and I did it. I had been doing it for probably 7 or 8 years. And he talked about, if you wanted to get rid of a habit, you had to do something to replace it. So what I did, Skull Bandits came in this little thing. So the teachings which you can't just go cold turkey on something. You have to do something, get creative on how you're going to replace it. And if you're going to stop doing it. So what I do is I go to 7-Eleven. I think they cost like $2.50 at the time. I would buy the Skull Bandits, and I would dump them out. I'd pay the $2.50, and then I'd buy a pack of Dentyne. And Dentyne looked like the little Skull Bandits. So I'd stick the Dentyne in the cup. And so what I'd do is put it in the car, then I'd put 2 Dentynes in my mouth to make up for what I'd lost by not having the Skull Bandits. You know how long this is a 7-8-year-old habit. You know how long it took me to kick that habit? 3 weeks.
Man.
And I'm done. So you can imagine I'm sold at that point about how that really worked. I didn't will my way into doing this. This really was a process that really worked. It wasn't like I'm going to have this will to stop doing it and just buy into this. I'm going to try it out and see if it works. Well, it worked. And because of that, I started studying Tony Robbins and everything that he was teaching, and man, it gave me this motivation that just took me off, and from there I got a car lot, and everything just started clicking for me then. So I won't bore you with all those details. That's a whole day worth of stuff there. But anyway, you asked why Tony Robbins. That's why Tony Robbins. Okay. Because of that, it changed my life around. Of course, I had to have something in my life that made me want to reach out there and grab something.
Yeah.
He was just that vehicle that there may have been other people at the time, but I mean, you know how popular he is now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I just happened to grab a hold of him, and because I was kind of desperate, at a desperate point in my life, whereas I needed to make a change, and he was there. I grabbed for it, and at that time he wasn't this huge popular. Everybody didn't know who Tony Robbins was then. I just happened to grab for that vehicle, and his teachings worked, and. But anyway, because that changed my life, it's much more important to me than grabbing a chick. So
I'm just saying, this chick is Rihanna. Like,
yeah. I can see that.
I'm just saying.
I can see that.
I'm just look.
I know.
Just for the record.
But I got to give Tony the props, though. He had all the right tools to get me straight. Yeah. So anyway, that's the reason.
No, that's a fair answer. Let's get into the tattoos.
The tattoos. Okay.
So let me back up.
Show the arms, bro.
Oh, I gotta do at least once a season. I showed him a little bit.
Well, Wayne don't know.
I'm a big Superman fan, so I got a Superman sleeve I'm working on.
Okay.
This is just my whatever miscellaneous everything Marvel.
Okay.
And, Egyptian goddess and
That's
stuff.
cool.
Yeah. So let me back up for like this tattoos thing, right? Right. I see a picture of this man on my phone from my girlfriend because her mom seen him in the Auto Connection in Hampton.
Okay. All right.
That's how he's on the show. Because I was like, when did he change his look from, this has always been like this and I just didn't know.
TV.
Right. But, so yeah, I had to find out when did the change from, call back Mack and the credits whack whack to this current version of Wayne we see here.
Well, when I turned 50 years old, people that say you go through midlife crisis, and,
okay.
When I was 50 years old, well, I can tell you, let's see. I was doing advertising, and I walked into this big, I can't remember what the name of it is. There's one here in Richmond, too. Studio Center. Are you aware of Studio Center? They're nationwide. But anyway, so I go into Studio Center, and we're going to do this more professional commercial. And they do big time commercials for bigger companies and stuff. So I walk in, and I meet this guy. He's really cool, and he's in a band, but he edits, and he's got this guitar on the wall. And so I'm like, wow, that's a really cool guitar. And I didn't know anything about music, and I think I'm maybe 47 years old at the time. And we start talking. He said, yeah, you can come in and jam with me anytime you like. And I'm like, well, I don't jam. I don't know what to do with a guitar. But then we proceeded on to do what we were going to do. So I get home and I talked to my girl, and I told her what he said. And this is like in November. And I said, he wanted me to come jam with him. I don't know anything about jamming, just kind of joking about it, and that was it. So for Christmas, what does she do? She buys me a guitar. And I'm like, I'm going to do this. A guitar, really? I don't know what to do. It's foreign. You just give me some chopsticks. I don't know how to use them either. So anyway, so I'm like, I touch it, and she says, well, aren't you going to strum it and play it? And I said, I don't know what to do. And I said, but I tell you what, thank you for giving me the guitar. It was very sweet. It was cool. And I tell you what I'll do. I'll talk to the guy. His name was Peter Pope. I'll talk to him next time I go in, and I'll see about finding some lessons. So he hooks me up with lessons with one of the better guitar players in town, and I happen to know the guy. So I get into playing the guitar a little bit, and all of a sudden I can play acoustic guitar. And it was really cool because instead of watching TV at night when I'd go home from the Auto Connection, I'd come home and play the guitar. So I really got into it. And, oh shoot, I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, you want to know with the tattoos?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'm doing that for a while, and my 50th birthday comes along, and I'm like, you know what? For the 50th birthday, let's just rent out this place called Knuckleheads, and it's this huge bar. So we rented out the whole thing, and one part I'm going to get roasted. So I have 4 comedians come from the Funny Bone, and they roast me, which was really cool. And before that, I get up with my teacher, and I play 10 songs with him on the acoustic guitar. And it went over so well that it was so good. And after the fact, maybe 2 days later, I talked to my girl and said, you know what? Why don't we start a band? Let's just do it. And we're like, we don't know how to do that. But you know what? It doesn't matter. We didn't know how to do commercials, and we did them. Let's just get focused on this and do it. So we ran an ad and said what we're going to do. And because people knew me from the commercials, there were some band people that jumped all over it. And so I ended up catching up with these guys, and we started a band, and I ended up not being with them. But 8 months later, I figured out who's going to be in the band. And all of a sudden, it was in December, and by September, I got my first gig out there. And it's not hard for me to get a gig because people just think it's going to be some kind of novelty because of who I am with Mack. So we don't care if he's any good. We're going to advertise we got Mack here playing in the band, so it didn't matter. But they didn't know that I'd surrounded myself with some great musicians. And anyway, that summer, before the gig, I said, you know what? I'm going to get a tattoo. I'm 50 years old, and I'm going to get a tattoo, and that's going to make me one thing that's going to make me feel, and I'm going to be a lead singer in this band. So that's going to be one thing that I connected to with lead singers, and I'm like, people in bands, I'm like, you know what, that's what I'm going to do. It's going to empower me and make me feel at least something like a lead singer. So I got this huge tattoo on my back. It's the name of the band. It's called Mack's Daddy. And in the center there is a picture of Mack. So on the back, I have a picture of Mack, and it says Mack's Daddy on the back, and then it has this tribal art that goes all down my back. And so that was one thing that empowered me to make me feel like a lead singer. And I actually started taking voice lessons, and I got to be pretty decent at singing rock music. And then we mingled dancing girls with this. We'd take poles out, and that not stripper stuff, but they acrobats and stuff of that nature. They would eat fire and do all kinds of stuff. Okay. So it was more like a Vegas kind of show that went along. We were like a 90s rock band. I played a lot of Godsmack, Tool, Disturbed, that kind of music of the 90s, kind of harder rock, but stuff you'd still hear on the rock station. You'd still hear.
That's on the internet too.
What's that?
That's on the internet too. Your live performances are.
Oh, some of those. Well, if they're from a while back, I've gotten way better than that. So, anyway, some of those are probably embarrassing from when I first started, but I've gotten a lot better, because I've taken so many lessons on what to do. But anyway, you asked me about my tattoos. That's how I started getting into it. And then as we had these crazy, weird skits, the girl that I was with for so long, we just broke up a year ago. We were together like 17 years. But she was an artist, and she would come up with these crazy skits that these women would do. And if you see, this is a picture of one of the girls. This is how they were dressed.
Nice.
And this was performed to the song called Sober by Tool. And she had these weird hoses that would come out of her head, and smoke would come out of the hoses. And she would do these weird, creepy dances and dance around me while I'm singing. This is a picture of another girl. You'll see. She's a grinder girl. And you notice her breasts. She has these, she's dressed in metal. And she'd take a real grinder, and she'd grind it on herself. And sparks would fly off of it, and sometimes I'd get hit with sparks while I'm singing, but she's doing this dancing around me with a grinder. So when I put a tattoo on my body, it's got to be something that I know that it's going to be memorable for my whole life, so therefore I won't be mad that I got it. I'm like, what did I do that for? Or that was cool when I was this age, but not cool when I'm this age. I knew that these tattoos would have meaning forever. And I will always love these tattoos. I have a picture of a jester here because of my funny commercials, and I was kind of dressed like a jester in a lot of my band performances with Mack's Dad. So that's why I have this. And then I have into the signs a little bit, so I have a scorpion across my chest here.
Scorpio?
Yes, I'm a Scorpio. And across here it says in Old English writing, it says unleashed. So when I was 50 years old, I felt like, okay, I've been holding this in for so long, and now I'm unleashed. I'm going to be who I am, and I'm going to be in this band thing, and this is who I am now, and this is what I'm really passionate about. So I felt unleashed. And I felt this freedom. So I'm like, okay, I've got unleashed written across there with a Scorpio.
Who was the influence for the hair?
Who was the influence?
Oh, yeah.
My ex-girlfriend.
Okay.
Yeah, she thought it would give me a harder look to be in the band. We thought it was pretty cool, and then it ended up taking off on the commercials too. In the commercials, in the latter part of the commercials, we'd go to Vegas every year a few times. And back then, maybe in the late 2000s, they came out with this hairdo, whereas it was kind of mohawkish, but you would still leave the sides even a little fluffy. You wouldn't shave the sides, and it would just, I forget what they called that hairdo.
It's a faux hawk.
Yeah.
Is that what they called it?
That's
okay,
what they
well
call
anyway,
it.
that's what I started off with. And after that, they gave me enough nerve. I had to start there. That was my training wheel hairdo.
Yeah.
And once I did that, it was like after maybe 6 months, maybe a year, I was like, you know what? Let's just do the mohawk. And back then, I had brown hair. I was all brown. I didn't have any white. I was a bit younger. And the mohawk was thicker and it was higher. And it's more tame now. I wear it in a more tamed fashion. But back then, I would wear it kind of crazy. And I enjoyed it. It was really cool. So that's one of the things that made me feel unleashed, you know.
That's really cool, man.
I love this Auto Connection commercial, the return of Wayne. It's like when you're coming back and they ask you about it. I thought you were busy with your rock band. Almost like you forgot about the company. But then the thing about the internet is the weirdest thing to me, right? So there's all these interviews and articles. Some you're actually in, like, you've been interviewed in, but then there's others that there's no quote from you. So I feel like no one ever even talked to you. They just wrote what they thought was going on.
Probably.
And then I noticed this. They question Wayne, right? And I was just like, is that what really happened? And so I sit here and I contemplate. I go, all right, there's a storyline for the commercials, right? It began to get to the point where there's an actual storyline. There was the Young Wayne commercial, and then there was you returning, right? Like a year or two before that, there was like the best friend discount. It was like Wayne is my best friend. That was like a whole.
That was back in 12. Yeah, okay.
And I like that whole era. It was like a 2-year era where it was
It was the best friend commercials.
Yeah, and the shots were real nice. And and I'm thinking to myself, there's a commercial storyline, and I'm curious as how close to the actual storyline of your life was it? Like, did you decide you were going to transition away from the company for a while, or was it all just for the commercial? No, that's done on purpose. That's done on purpose. You know, if you know, things can get stale, and if you take things away from people for just a little while, and you know, we did it for so long, it's like, okay, I'm not going to be in a commercial for maybe a year, and let's see what happens. So I let these two little crazy guys who are still in commercials now, I forget what, they're in this little car lot, and you know, he's just kind of like an asshole, cheesy type of a car dealer, and they're really cool commercials. But let's take me out of the commercials for a little while. But the commercials you're talking about were before that, and we were trying to change our business model. We were getting away from buy here, pay here to sell more expensive cars and go through finance companies just to see what that would do. And we did that for about a year, and we didn't like the outcome of that. But that was the premises for the best friend line of commercials. Yeah, you would see me mowing somebody's yard or cleaning their pool or something. Yeah, it was a good concept. I didn't actually come up with that when somebody else did. The real cool part was I was in the end of one commercial. I was in their bedroom eating popcorn while they were in the bed watching TV, and that was so good. That was copied by another big company, not hair club. It's a Grecian formula, or one of those commercials where you color your beard.
Yeah, but Walt Frazier was in that commercial.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and if you'll see it, he's in there doing the same thing I was doing, eating popcorn. And they totally copied me. So that's two big companies that copied. I'd forgotten about that till you brought up the best friend commercials. Yeah.
Yeah, so. you're a trendsetter. It's
I never looked at myself. I never even thought of myself that way until you just said it in this. Never really thought about that. I really have.
That's why we wanted you on this show. I mean, you're a legend us. I don't think you understand.
My most anticipated episode this season.
Like you're talking about Auto Connection started in 2000, but I need you to know where I was in 2000. Like I was in 6th grade, right? Yeah. And like I said, for us, we weren't young enough to own cars, but as soon as a commercial popped up from Auto Connection, like it gave us something all to talk about that we all knew. Like even if we were watching 2 different shows, you can call your friend and say, "Hey, have you seen this commercial?" And then you laugh and you talk about it for like 15 minutes.
Well, what's so funny is that I added in the jingle. We wrote this jingle there, and it ended up being super popular. And call Mack if your credit is whack. I actually wrote that commercial, and it sounds. He copied the tune of the Atomic Dog.
Yeah.
And I used to love that song. And if you listen to it closely, you can see that he based it on the Atomic Dog. Yep. Yeah. So what the point is that even if you're in the other room, and because the music would come on while you were in the other room, and the commercial would come on, you'd hear that. The point is, a lot of people when they're watching a show, they don't want to see the commercial, so they'll get up and go make a sandwich or something. And I wanted to be like, okay, if you're up making a sandwich, I want you to hear that music come on, and as soon as the commercial comes on, the music comes on. And I wanted you to, kids or whoever's in the kitchen, I wanted you to hear it and say, "Oh, I got to see the Auto Connection commercial."
Yeah.
That was the thought behind that. So writing a jingle like that was very important to me. And that jingle just happened to really, really stick with people. And everywhere I would go that year, well, still today, people will sing the song to me, which is really cool because I never saw that happening yet.
I got 2 questions before we wrap this thing up.
Okay.
I told you what we're gonna do. Top 5 rock bands.
Top 5 rock bands.
Yeah. That's question 1.
Tool. I'm spiritual, and if you listen to a lot of the lyrics of Tool, he's a very spiritual guy too. Mm-hmm. So it's very complex music, and actually I'm getting ready to do a cover Tool band. Okay. The name of it's going to be Numa, and we're coming out with. I'm going to bring I told you this earlier. We're going to come out with the Max Daddy girls that will perform in this. So it's going to be we're only going to do like 2 shows a year.
Okay.
So it's going to be a Tool, and then I've got a guy that's going to do a Prince tribute band. Nice. That'll be right behind us. So it's and he actually sings in my band that's called Can You Dig It Now.
Okay.
And he does some Prince. He looks like Prince, and he does Prince tunes. I do more of the classic stuff, and he'll do some of the funk. We share a lot of songs, but he looks like Prince. Okay. But anyway, Tool is my number 1 band. Okay. Because of spirituality stuff. And,
okay. That's cool.
Very cool music. Number 2 is Korn.
Okay. Nice.
Best concert I've ever been to is Korn. They're some wild dudes. Next is Alice in Chains.
Okay. This is not what I would have expected.
4 would be probably Godsmack.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna go back into the '80s. Would be Van Halen.
Nice. It's eclectic.
Yeah, I'm not so. They have so many songs. You might not even realize how many it is, but it's so many, and they're just kind of worn out in my head. I don't like, here's a Van Halen song now, but I still have to dig deep and say, you know what, this was a band that I love so much that I still have to put them in my top 5.
Okay.
But the other stuff that I named you mostly from the 90s, harder rock music, and that's what I'm more into. However, Can You Dig It is more of late 60s, early 70s classic rock and funk. Right. We get a lot of Earth, Wind, and Fire in there, Ohio Player, stuff like that.
Very nice.
But we'll dip in a little bit into the 80s, like I told you we would do Prince, and we'll dip a little bit into the 60s, like I'll do some Elvis impersonations and stuff of that nature. So it's a kind of versatile band, and it's good for weddings and big outdoor events, and that's what Can You Dig It is all about. Can You Dig It is a saying from back in the late 60s. So
okay.
Kind of another hook there for the band that tells you, hey, can you dig it? Oh, okay. They're doing classic rock.
All right.
Everything with me is a hook.
I have one more question.
Okay.
What is the biggest lesson you learned from your entire run as Wayne and making commercials and Mack and all that, your rock band and everything, what's the biggest lesson you learned?
Be patient with people and try to understand everybody, because everybody doesn't. I've learned that, when you're growing up and you don't agree with somebody, you think that they're wrong because they should think like me. When you're a young man, you think everybody's supposed to think like you, but we're all wired differently, and you have to understand. Well, you may have a difference with this person, but you need to embrace the difference, because that's where you learn. Yeah, if we were all alike, we wouldn't learn from each other. But you embrace the difference instead of going against somebody. You embrace them. You let them know that, hey, I respect your opinion. I may not totally agree with it, but I'm going to learn from it. Instead of creating the tension and always being, on the difference with people and, creating tension. I'm not about that. But you asked me what I've learned. Patience.
Okay.
Is
it's definitely a virtue.
That's right. Yeah. So a lot of patience. Okay. And I realize that everybody's not alike, and I embrace differences. Okay. And I don't get mad anymore. I get mad with no one. I just realize that this is a lesson in life that I'm learning here, and I'm not gonna be mad, because who carries that? That's me that's carrying that, not that person. When that person leaves, they're not carrying. I didn't do anything by arguing back. I'm the one carrying that with me, and I don't need to be carrying any kind of anger or guilt or anything. I need to be free, unleashed.
Nice. You got anything to say before we wrap this up, Herb?
No, I do. I gotta do the plugs. We ain't done plugs properly. Autoconnection.com.
Yes.
Autoconnection.com. If you're looking for a vehicle, autoconnection.com. Right? Find your nearest auto connection location. Go. Talk to somebody and get yourself a proper vehicle. All right? You can trust Wayne. I trust Wayne. Very honest, very genuine person.
Yes, he is.
All right. People talk about car salesmen all the time. Shady business. Wayne is not shady. Yeah, he's very, very genuine, very honest person. So if you're gonna trust anybody, you trust Auto Connection.
Thank you.
All right. Now, where can they check out your band?
Yes.
I'm all over Virginia Beach. I've got to figure out how to get to Richmond. That's where I want to be. I want to be here too. Playing in some bigger venues and outdoor events is what I like to do. But I'll touch on some bars, and if you some bigger bars, I'll do that too.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll just look on Facebook. Can you dig it? And you'll see us on there, and you can hit me up on Facebook, and you can see where schedule is.
There's actually people here at the music shop, 318 West Broad Street, that you can talk to about how to get in, like the Camel National next door. Like, so there's some options here. So we talk about that after the show.
Sure.
But my name's Edberto Vasquez El Segundo. They call me Herb. And to my left is my co-host.
Just Alex.
This has been Wayne from Auto Connection.
Hell yeah.
This has been the Herbsurdity Podcast with Alex and Herb. Feel willing and God bless. Stop kicking it. The enemy stealing my energy. The alchemist rework the chemistry. Aftermath, I'm making history. I got them all listening. What they looking at? The diamonds is glistening. Got paper cuts all in my fingertips. How you get that? From handling businesses. I just took off, dog. Now I'm on the way up. It wants the long walk. Coming from them pay cuts and want no days off. People tried to slave us, but shout out to God, cause I ain't ever gave up. I was working the most, but you won't even close, so I guess you was stuck on that average. Elevated the grind on a number of times, ain't having any room for distractions. Now I'm walking around and I'm feeling like baby, got 4 pockets full of that cabbage. But it's faith and family finances, that be the motto I got it established. Now I'm just head of the family, moving with Grammys, you can just call me the Don. I'm way too sure to be holding a gun by my waist, I keep mine by my arm. I'm a dog off the leash till I snatch up the beast and I put them right back on my charm. Had a couple of problems with some of my partners who wanted to ring the alarm, so I